Question number 3 now of the same paper. So they're saying this is an object-oriented programming question that we have to implement, where we have a game that requires the user to travel around a world to find an open treasure chest. Each treasure has a mathematical question inside, and we have to use object-oriented. Okay, then in the next part, they're saying this is the treasure class. You have to create a new program. You have to write the code to declare the class, and you do not write any other method. So that means we just have to write the constructor and the attributes and the class, and the attributes are private, and we have to use declaration as well. So class name is treasure chest, and then we have define init self. Okay, now we will have in the constructor, they're saying takes question, answer, and points as parameters and creates an instance of the object. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll do that. This is the simplest part of the question. So we have the question, we have the answer, and then we have the point. So self dot, since it's private, so double dash, so it should be question is equal to qt, and then self dot answer is equal to an, and then self dot p points is equal to pt, like this. And they've also asked us to define their data types, so we'll do that as well. Question is of type string given in the question, then answer is integer, and point is also integer. Okay, so we don't have to do anything else, and this is the complete part. Okay, then in part B they are saying us to go to the class. Okay, then in part B they are telling us to the text file to do this. Okay, so they're saying the text file contains the data. Okay, now I'll open the text file and let's manually verify this. So in the text file we have data for 5 questions in the order. So we have questions, then answer, then points. So as always, create a backup first if you want to change anything in the file for testing purposes. So this is what we have: question, answer, points, question, answer, points, question, answer, points, question, answer, points, and same thing. So this is a total. We have sets of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 sets with 3 values. So they're saying that what you have to do is you have to read each question, answer, and the points, create an object of treasure chest, declare an array of this type, append each object to the array, and use exception handling. Okay, so we have done questions like this before. So what we'll do is we'll loop till the end of the file, and every time we'll be reading 3 values at a time using the readline function, and we'll keep on doing it until we come across the end of file. So the simplest method to do this question. Okay, let's try. So this would be define read data, and we don't have any parameters here. Yep, no parameters here. Okay, so we'll try. We'll say f is equal to open. The file name is treasure just txt r, or we can just store this in another variable, so we don't have to rewrite this again and again, and then we have to eventually close the file, and we'll also have some exception, and we'll print file processing error. So this exception can be triggered in multiple ways. It's not necessary that this exception will only be triggered when there is no file. It could also be the case that your code is giving any runtime error, or there is an invalid output, so it would still be triggered. So that is why I never write file not found. Okay, that is a misleading error. It should always be file processing error. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to use a while loop, and we are going to read through the file. So while true, which is basically an infinite loop that we have used before. So infinite loop which must be broken eventually. So what I'll do is I'll use the break keyword when the condition is right. So the condition would be that I'll read the line, and if at any point there is no data in the line, then I'm going to break the loop. So let's do that. The first value that I'll read would be question, then answer, then points. So let's make it question. So question is equal to f dot readline, and we should also get rid of the spaces. So that is strip. And I'll check if the length of the question becomes equal to 0. That means that there is nothing in it. I need to bring back the original format. So you can either write it like this way, or you can write it if not question, which simply means if the value is false. It has nothing, it's a null value. So if there is nothing, then I'm going to break the loop. This will literally stop the loop. Okay, if that is not the case, so we've already read the question. The next thing we'll read would be the answer. So answer is equal to again f dot readline dot strip, and then we'll read the points is equal to f dot readline dot strip. So we have read three values like this. Okay, once we have read all these three values, what we're supposed to do is we have to convert them into a treasure chest object. So what is the treasure object? It will have these three values: question, answer, and points. Okay, now answer is integer and point is also an integer. So I must convert them to integer at this point to avoid any issues further in type conversion. Everything that you read from the file is always in string. Okay, once this is done, we have to create the object. So the name of the class is treasure. Then we have the question. Then we have the answer.
Question.
You can just use the alternative that I told. So if the length of the question is equal to 0, there's nothing, it's empty. So then we're going to break it. So then we're constructing, okay, so we have the question and then the answer, and then we have the points. So this will create an object of this class with these three values in the constructor. Okay, so now once we have this object ready, let's call it object maybe. Okay, the object is ready. Now the question says that you have to declare an array named array treasure, and then you have to append each object to this array. So we can do that as well. Let's do it outside. So the array is global, and let's call it array treasure, and we'll set it to empty like this, and we'll access it globally. Okay, so now we have the object ready. So I'll just say array treasure dot append. So add this value into the array. So
If they told
so let's bring this inside because the question says
then if
we can just bring it inside like this. So we don't need to access it globally, and this way it also becomes part of the procedure. Okay, good enough. All right, and then that's it, I believe. So we have read the file, we have read 3 lines at a time, and then if at any point there is nothing in the file, it breaks. We create the object, we add it into the array, which is initially empty. All right, so in the next part, they're saying that the main program is now going to repeat the question. So until the user inputs the correct answer, the number of points depends on the number of attempts. The class has a method get question. Okay, so we have to write the getter method now. Okay, so define get question, g small get question. So we'll have self, and then we'll just return the value. And then they're saying you also have, okay, we don't have any other function for now, so we'll stop here. Okay, in the next part, they're saying that there's a method check answer that takes the user's answer as a parameter, and it will return true if the answer is correct and false otherwise. You define check answer. It will take the user's answer. So let's call it user answer. Okay, and then it's going to check it against the current answer that you've set in the object. So if the user answer is equal to the value that we have already set of the answer, if that is the case, then we're going to return true. Otherwise, I will simply return false. You don't even need else here because if this condition becomes true, it will return true. Otherwise, you just have false. No need of else. Okay, then they're saying in part 3 that now we have to write a function get points in which we are going to apply some rules. Has a method get points that takes the number of attempts as a parameter. Okay, define get points that takes a number of attempts as a parameter. So we have self, and let's call it attempts. Okay, if the attempt is 1, it returns the value of points. Then if the attempt is 2, it returns the integer value of points divided by 2. So you have to use the double slash. Okay, this is very simple. So if the attempts are equal to 1, then we will simply return the value of points, which we'll get by using self.points. I don't get why this question does not have all the getters. That would have been simple, but okay. Okay, elif attempts becomes equal to 2, then that means it returns the integer value of points divided by 2. So return the self dot points divided by 2. So this will automatically be integer. Then if attempts is equal to 3, then 3 or 4. Okay, 3 or attempts is equal to 4, then it returns the value divided by 4. Okay, so return self dot points divided by 4. If the number of attempts is not 1, 2, 3, it returns 0. Okay, else we simply return 0 if none of the values are true. Okay, so this is done, and then they're saying to write the code. Okay, now I think we'll just be testing the program. So write the program code for the main program to call the procedure read data. Okay, so let's hide all of this and let's test the program. Main program. Okay, call the procedure read data. So read data, R is lowercase, read data. Ask the user to enter question number between 1 to 5. So we'll ask the user to input question number. Choice is equal to int input. Enter question number. Okay. Output the question that matches the question number entered by the user. So we have the read data. Here we'll have the whole array. Okay, now how would the array look like? So let's try to visualize it. So this array treasure will have objects. So this would be index 0, index 1, index 2. And at object at index 0, it will have 3 things. It will have a question. Maybe the question is something, let's say today. What is the day today? Okay, then it will have the answer. Let's say it's Tuesday, and then I think the answer was supposed to be yes. So the answer is supposed to be integer. So maybe the answer has 2, and then the points are maybe 5, something like this. And then the same thing will happen here for multiple indices. So we are supposed to use the getter methods because we cannot access the attributes directly. So here we have the get question, we have the check answer. Okay, so ask the user to enter question number between 1 to 5. Okay, we should write 1 to 5. Output the question that matches the question number entered by the user. Check if the answer input by the user is correct using the method check answer. We have these values here. So this is the question, this is the answer, this is the points, question, answer, points. So let's do that. Let's validate it first, that if the value is not between, they've not asked to validate, by the way, but we should still do that. If condition would be kind of useless. So while the choice is less than 1 or choice is greater than 5, we will keep on asking the user to input a choice, or let's call it question number. That would be a better name. Question number, question number, question number. Okay, so if that is the case, I'll simply copy and paste this. So this will make sure that the answer is between 1 to 5. Output the question that matches the question number entered by the user. Okay, like we discussed, the array will have multiple objects. So we need to go at this as the index number. So again, just making it here. So we have the array treasure, I believe. the name of the, yes, array treasure, and then we'll have three objects, multiple objects, and each object will have three things. So let's make the first one. It would have 2 into 2, 4, and 10. So 2 into 2, 4, comma 10, and then the next one is 100 by 10, 10 and 15. So 100 by 10, comma 10 and 15, so on and so forth. Okay, so this is just for visualization purposes. So we need to get out the question which is stored at the specific index, but as we discussed, since the question number is starting from 1, we need to subtract 1 to make it start from index 0. So that is what we'll do. And in fact, let's make it index q question number -1. So we are going to go to that and we'll output the question number. So we'll go to this index of the array treasure. Let's call it output the question. So let's call it target question, maybe. Target question is equal to array treasure. We go to this index, and at this index we'll have this object, and on this object we need to get the attribute out. Since they're all private, we need to use the getter method, and I'll use the get question method like this, and we can print the target question like this. Let's see if it works so far. So when I input question number, let's say 1, so it is already outputting that for us. Okay, array treasure is not defined, so we need to, yeah, so it's not defined because it's inside this procedure, so we need to get this out. So let's take it out of the procedure so we can
Can we not also
make it outside the procedure, and then we can just access it globally. And it says index is generic or not specialized. Okay, if I run it again, so if I input question number 1, yep, it says 2 by 2, which I had already printed just to see if that is the case or not. Okay, so if I input question number 2, okay, this is again an error, so let's quickly fix this. But this works so far. So 2 by 2, the question 2 would have gotten us this 100 by 10. So I had these line spaces, got rid of it. Yep, working fine. Okay, so let's input the question number. Array treasure is fine, it's global here as well. Okay, so question number 2, it says 100 by 10, that is completely fine. Then if I run this again, question number is maybe 5, so it should output me 3000 plus 4000. Yes, that is true. I need to get rid of all the extra print statements, and here we go. Okay, then they're saying that if you're done with till this point, check if the answer input by the user is correct using the method check answer. Okay, so we have the check answer question here on the object, so we'll call that. So we have this whole index here, and let's call it the treasure. So on this treasure we can get the question out. So target question is equal to treasure dot get question, and then we also need to get the check if the answer input by the user is the same. Okay, so we can apply the check answer now on this treasure object. Okay, let's do that. We have the output the question, check if the answer inputted by the user. So we're going to ask the user to input an answer here as well. This is the target question, and then print maybe target answer is equal to int input. What's your answer? It should be integer. Okay, then we're going to compare now. So we need to get the answer out as well. Okay, how do we get the answer? So we have the treasure here, we have the object. On this object we can just call the check answer against the user answer. So let's use the user answer variable here. So we'll do that. We'll say treasure dot check answer against the user answer. Yep, and then it will either return true or false. So let's store that in some variable response, and then if the response is true, or you can just write it like this, or double equal to true, so we can print something. They're saying Repeat the question until the user inputs the correct answer. Count how many times the user attempted the question. Okay, so until they get it correct. So we are going to ask the user to what's your answer, and this should go inside a loop. So while the user answer or while the response is equal to false, we will keep on repeating the whole thing. Let's put this whole thing inside the loop. So we'll ask the user to input an answer.
What is line
So
okay.
here we can just write if response double equal to true. It's confusing. So if response is equal to true, then they're saying you have to count how many times the user attempted question. So let's have the attempts. Okay, attempts is already created. Let's call it user maybe lives that they used. So lives plus equal to 1, and then we can set the lives equal to 0. And then initially let's set the response to false so the loop starts. Okay, while the response is equal to false, ask the user to answer the question. Then we check their answer. If it is equal to true, then that means if the response is in fact equal to false. So that means the answer does not match, and we increment the lives by 1. And eventually there might come a point where the answer is equal to true, and then the loop will end. Okay, once the loop ends, they're saying use the method getPoints to return the number of points awarded, and that will be the last thing. So we have to get the points. How do we get the points? We wrote a function here that is called getPoints that will take the attempts here. Okay, so we have the attempts here. We call them lives. Okay, now in the last part, that is what we're supposed to do. So user points is equal to treasure, which is again our object dot get points. And on the get points, we are supposed to pass in the attempts, which in our case we have called lives, and then we are just supposed to print the points, user points, like this. And then output the number of points the user is awarded, count how many times the user attempted the question, and we have that in the lives. Okay, then yep, that's it. So let's test it now. So let's try this on question number 1 maybe. Okay, 2 by 2, what is your answer? My answer is, first let's put in a wrong answer, that is 1. Then the second answer I'm going to input 4. Okay, so I get 10 points. Let's see if that is the case. So the lives, total lives we use were 2. And if we go up here, so we took 2 attempts, then it's saying point divided by 2. Okay, the number of points for this question were 10. And then, okay, we only took 1 attempt because we got it in the second attempt. So 10 divided by 1 is 10, which is correct. So let's retry this. Let's go for question number 3. So 1000 into 4, the answer, let's say, is
But
going to be,
shouldn't
let's, so we change to 1 here. Okay, all right, and let's test for one last value. We have question number 2. It's going to return us 10, so I make a wrong guess, maybe 2, so that is a wrong guess. So I have taken 1 attempt, then another wrong guess, taken 2 attempt, and then I'm going to give the correct answer, which is 10, and then it says 15. So 15 were the total points, and then I took 2 attempts, so I took 3 attempts in fact, so it is dividing the answer by 4, and then this is the value that I get. So the answer is running completely, and yeah, we just had to set the lives to 1 here because logic. Yeah, so if we were attempting it on the first try, it was returning us 0 because the lives were initially set to 0. That was wrong. So this is perfect then. I think we are all done with this question as well.